All right, Team Buck, our buddy David Harsanyi is with us now. He is a senior writer over at National Review. You can check out his latest at nationalreview.com. David, good to have you back, sir.
Always good to be here. Thank you, Buck.
So, what do we know about Joe Biden now that perhaps we didn't know before the debate? Or what do we know about him in general, David? I think it's an interesting question to really ask and dive into.
Well, we know very little about the new Joe Biden because he's basically put a lid on the past. He doesn't really support any of the major bills or policies he supported for 37 years in the Senate or whatever it was, or even really among, when he was in the Obama administration. I think almost every position he has is staked to the left, as far as positions are staked at all, because he has this weird thing where he concurrently has two positions. So he'll be on the debate stage and say, "Oh, I don't support the Green New Deal," and then on his campaign page it says that his environmental policy is framed around the Green New Deal. So we don't know anything, and no one really seems to. I mean, I know more about the Proud Boys than I know about Biden's foreign policy.
And I'm amazed because Biden, it's all just slogans and boilerplate from this guy, talking points. And I really mean that. I know it's an easy thing to say about a politician. Oh, it's all just talking points. But with Trump, it's actually not. I mean, he says things that he just sort of lets it fly and lets it rip, for better or for worse. With Joe Biden, it seemed to me very apparent that he's just trying to keep this sort of low and slow profile and he's trying to run for president. So there's a real dissonance here. It's weird. He calls the lids on the campaign on many days. He's not doing a lot of interviews, not doing a lot of speeches. It's all so scripted and phony. And I just I wonder if enough Americans can see through this, because I think it's obvious.
I think that it's obviously I would say, I just want to quickly go back to something you said. I don't think, of course, there are platitudes, and all politicians use platitudes, but this is more than the usual talk, because he literally doesn't take a position. For instance, Chuck Schumer, not some fringe activist, is threatening to pack the courts and undermine the integrity of the constitutional order. And he just won't answer a question about it. He's decided that that's not an important question for him to answer, and the press sort of presses him a little bit, but then they move on. So that in itself is amazing and unprecedented in modern history. I can't think of another important issue like that where a president hasn't taken a position.
I mean, David, you look at the way that they push on the "have you denounced white supremacists?" and then you hear the way that they're like, I mean, the Supreme Court packing thing, got any thoughts on that? Oh, no? Okay, good. See you later. It's so obvious.
Yeah. And what they're trying to do, of course, is give Donald Trump ownership of that issue by constantly asking him this question. And obviously, when someone asks you, do you condemn someone terrible, it makes you feel like they're part of your group or something, and that you're condemning them only because they're a part of you, which they're not. And Trump has condemned them numerous times. And yet at the same time, you have Joe Biden saying that Antifa, who is responsible for 99% of the looting and political violence that we see over the last few months, he could just say they're an idea and everyone moves forward like it's nothing. And Trump is on the cover of every single newspaper. It's so frustrating to have to deal with this. And I'm not sure how to, obviously there are conservative media people, we're speaking now, but I mean, the majors have a huge monopoly on what people see and read, and they're just not getting the full truth. And it's really dangerous for the health of the republic, I think.
Chris Wallace played into this a little bit, asked about that. I just, I think you're a guy, David, who plays it fair. You criticize the president when he deserves it, and you praise him when he deserves it, in your view, and you're willing to say that stuff. And I don't think you're unfair about fellow journos. How could Chris Wallace not understand that asking the president to denounce white supremacists? I mean, this is like something I would expect if Trump went on Rachel Maddow's show. That's the question he would get.
Yeah, it was a bad question. And I generally like him because I think he plays devil's advocate when he's interviewing people and tries to play it fair. But I don't think he's a good debate moderator, because there were at least 4 questions, and I can't remember them all now, where he framed the question itself. He begged the question. He framed it as in the leftist rhetoric, right? Like calling critical race theory, I forgot what he was, sensitivity.
Racial sensitivity training, yeah.
That is the debate, right? The debate is the question. And then Trump is left to deal with that, but he's just doing Biden's work. And there were no questions like that to Biden, I don't think. So, but that's been going on forever in debates. You know, you have that Candy Crowley moment. You can go back forever. Let's be honest. It's always been that way. And we just, I just think conservatives have to stop letting the other side frame the debate, because that is half the battle, and they're constantly doing it. And Chris Wallace, I think, did that in this debate. I mean, I don't watch cable news enough to know how he is every day, but generally I thought of him as fair, but I thought it was a bad performance.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's really no debates anymore on cable news. It's interesting that I feel like it was a business built on the Hannity and Combs model or the Crossfire model, you know, these shows where there was this left-right exchange. That's gone now. I mean, if you're going on CNN to be a conservative these days, if you're paid by them, you are there to get punched in the face and look like a fool for the amusement of CNN's audience. Same, I mean, at MSNBC, you're actually a conservative like Nicole Wallace is, where you're a puppet on the left doing what Democrats want you to do, but it's more fun to watch because, oh, even this Republican hates Trump so much, right? It's like the never Trumper phenomenon over there. But with our media as it is, I have to wonder, do they expect that we all forget, David, that no one really thought at the beginning of this process of the 2020 election, the Democrat primary, that Joe Biden was some great candidate? Or no one thought this. I mean, there was like not a person alive who was like, oh, Joe Biden, this guy's amazing. And we're left with this just decades long also ran. And it is a part of this. I mean, my thinking is that the Democrats wanted to see if they can get this done, that it's almost like part of the joke is, haha, see, we could even get Joe Biden to be president instead of Trump.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm writing this now, but I think Joe Biden's an idea, right? He's the idea. He's not real. He's just an empty vessel that you fill in with anything you want, far left stuff or moderate, you know, pretend he's a moderate, but he's really nothing. He's just a stand-in. And it's a terrible thing to say about someone, but as a political matter, he's just a stand-in because he was the most palatable candidate available for them, who wasn't crazy, who they thought could win the election. And because he doesn't stand for anything, he doesn't stand for what he used to believe in. He's just, look, they're saying Joe is moral and you know, Trump isn't moral and you have to pick the right guy. Well, yeah, that might be part of the equation if you don't believe Trump is a moral guy. But you know what? I don't think late-term abortion is moral either. So I have that makes me think about a lot of other things as well. But we never talk about policy anymore. And you mentioned the debates, debating on cable TV. I grew up watching Crossfire with Pat Buchanan on it and others, and I love that show, and it made me interested in politics. But we don't have that kind of debate going on anymore. We don't have it on Twitter either. It's just like flyby and another flyby, and you're a loser, and you're stupid, and you love Trump, blah, blah, blah. Never any kind of real debate anymore. And there used to be when I first got on Twitter, I think, and the blogging world, there used to be debate, but there's no debate anymore, and everyone lives in their bubble. And apparently everyone's happy with it.
It's become completely ossified. We're speaking to David Harsanyi of National Review, everyone, and you know, David, there's been this talk now about changing the debate format going forward. Do you think does this even really matter at this point? I feel like by next week, no one's really going to even remember the first debate. So why this fixation? I guess in the media, it gives us something to do.
If you have 70 million people watching something, I think it matters, right? Will we remember it? Probably not. There are only moments you do, but it's sort of compounding interest where you have all these events happening and they create a perception of people. I think most of that's baked into the cake with Trump, but it might not be so with Biden fully. I like debates. I don't like debates structured like this. I think it's antiquated. I think you have to have more open discussion, not less, fewer rules, not more. The idea that you're going to cut off microphones is ridiculous. If Trump wants to be aggressive, let him be aggressive. And if people don't like it, they won't vote for him. It's part of who he is. I wrote a column, the other day. I think just let them fight. Let them fight. Let's see what happens. So many times conversation accidentally started to get interesting, and Chris Wallace is jumping in to say that the time is up, like they're children. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That was my big complaint, was that they needed, I know everyone likes to rip on soccer, but soccer has they call it the advantage rule, where if someone fouls someone, but then another teammate of the guy that got fouled, like about to score maybe, or it has a breakaway, they let the play continue, and then they'll go back and deal with the foul if they have to penalize somebody afterwards. I think that's got to be a little more the approach in the debate. And it was amazing. It was almost like they were trying to, at every point where it seemed like there was going to be something that you heard that was meaningful from one of the candidates, Chris Wallace jumped in and started interrupting and being a pain in the ass. I mean, that was what actually happened.
Yeah, a colleague of mine pointed out, and I think it's interesting that when you read the transcript, Trump is far more talks far more about policy, talks far more about specifics, and comes off far better than he did in the video and the way he was. But yeah, it's funny that you mentioned soccer, because the rare few times I do watch soccer at the end of the game, like the clock's up, but they're still playing, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? But it is definitely a good idea to not have a debate in the constraints of 20th century television, right? We don't have a commercial coming. We have YouTube. We have C-SPAN. We can watch this anywhere. It doesn't make any sense to me why there has to be these time limits. And I think they help Biden now, but in the future it might help someone else. I think we just have to change the way we look at that. We look at debates and what they're meant to do. They're meant to inform, not to be part of some, strict, we must answer all these questions today. You can have as many debates as you want.
Dave, before we let you go, if Biden wins, let's just say you're not a catastrophist. I mean, you're a pretty even-keeled guy. How bad is it for the country in your estimation?
Keep saying I'm even keel. I don't know. Depends if the Republicans keep the Senate. I think Biden is a pushover for anything that's going on. I don't feel like he's going to stand up to the left. Maybe he will, but I doubt it. I think if the Republicans lose the Senate, also depends how much they lose it. It could be very bad. If they're up, by 1 or 2 seats in the Senate, I don't think they're going to get rid of the filibuster. I don't think they're going to pack the courts. I just think that a lot of the people who are coming into the Senate then, and a lot of the more moderate states, West Virginia, maybe Arizona, and places like that, are not going to want to ruin their careers moving forward by being radical. But if they win, 3-4 seats, if they go 3-4 seats up and Biden wins and they have the House, I don't think it's going to be very good for people who believe in conservative policies. We'll see. But Biden's not going to be a 2-term president, most likely. So you're going to have the party that's behind him, and you see the sorts of folks who are there leading the charge and making policy. That's pretty scary, I think, if you're conservative.
David Harsanyi, everyone, check out his latest at nationalreview.com. Also follow him on Twitter, if you're on Twitter, at David Harsanyi. David, great to see you, man. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
You're going to go with that weak-ass argument here? Byrd, who had a complete enlightenment about how hate was wrong, who changed his life, who spoke about it,
Chris,
who changed
have you
his
ever
ways.
Eulogized a Klansman? I haven't. I'll give you another example.
No, hold on. That's your example.
Hold on.
That's your example. You're going to use
that.
that.
I'll give you another one. I give you a lot of examples.
But hold on, because I don't want you to run away from the premise, Senator. I'm not you, but I'm not a fool either. He did it in Charlottesville. He did it with David Duke, the old Ted Cruz, who he called Lion Ted when he wasn't insulting your wife and your father, tweeted, "Hey, you're better than this, Mr. President." What happened to that Ted? I don't know if he changed or did just you change for some reason, Senator.
Chris, I'm glad you take tips on insults from other folks.
Really?
Look,
am I insulting you, sir?
Oh yeah,
so?
Oh yeah, you are, and
so?
you're enjoying it. That's
I am not
fine.
enjoying it at all.
Chris,
I'm not enjoying
Chris,
anything about this except having an opportunity for you to say the right thing at the right time.
Chris, there was a time when CNN actually cared about being journalistic and talking about facts. Donald Trump broke you guys. I mean, your entire show, your entire network now is just how much you hate Trump.
Yes, really. Yes. Ted Cruz is speaking the truth here. That's correct. CNN is a network devoted to Trump hatred. It's bizarre. It's sad. It's really uncomfortable. And to the country, it really could be dangerous, too. We are at this very divided point in time, and to have entire networks that all they just do is convince everyone all the time how horrible and racist and evil the president is. I remember the opposition to Obama at Fox News. I did a lot of Fox at the time. I was working at The Blaze. which Glenn Beck started. And you remember Glenn at that time had a tremendous national voice in the conversation in 2011, 2012. And it was always, we don't like what Obama is doing. Yes, there were people that said, other things. And there was, there were people that hated Obama or thought he was people talked about him being a secret Muslim and all this stuff. I understand that existed. But the mainstream conversation in conservative circles and on the right and the Republican Party was, we don't like this thing that Obama is doing as president. Right? It wasn't always, Obama's the worst person. He's awful, evil. He's, horrible to his family. Look at the things they call Trump, a traitor, a rapist, crazy. No one said these things about Obama. And they'd say, that's because Obama wasn't those things. Yeah, Trump isn't either. No, we didn't like Obamacare. We didn't like the bowing to foreign countries and apologizing for America at a time when we were under assault from a lot of jihadist terrorism. We didn't like things that he was doing. We wanted him to do other things. When Obama took credit for the bin Laden raid and making that call, people were saying, okay, give the guy credit. It helped him get reelected. Right? There were some things the Obama administration did where I don't care who you are, you have to say, okay, well, that was the right move. But it wasn't about hating Obama. I don't hate Barack Obama. I don't know Barack Obama. I don't hate him. These people at CNN, they hate Donald Trump. I mean, it's Jeff Zucker, it's known it is deeply personal for him. And look, I mean, there are people in the media that I know at some personal level or have had interactions with that I think are horrible. And if they were running for office, it would be very hard for me to ever be objective because I think that person sucks. But I would be honest with you about that. The news media is not honest about any of this. And they're also not honest about what's about to happen in this country where we're going to see blue states, New York most notably, are going to shut down again. And we're going to be told to wear masks. And I want to know right now what the answer is going to be to questions like, so when the vaccine comes out, if I get the vaccine, am I still supposed to wear a mask after I get the vaccine? If I get a vaccine, do I still have to wear a mask? Now I'm supposed to be vaccinated against it, but I'm going to wear a mask anyway to make people feel better. We're going to have businesses shut down going into the election. You're going to have New York City still in this, and Biden saying there's going to be a national mask mandate. All this stuff that's happening, and we're not going to hold anybody accountable for all these excesses, are we? Or not? I mean, Governor Cuomo, we just had Chris Cuomo before. He gets very testy about this. Governor Cuomo has now been saying that he never sent COVID-positive patients in nursing homes. Just Stalin-style Politburo rewriting of history to suit the purposes of the people in power at the moment. That's what's actually happening. That is going on right now. Governor Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo. It's amazing. These guys, all because of their last name, because daddy was a governor. Now they get to be governor and TV hosts. It's really astonishing. Nepotism is one of the, it's a bad thing in this country, and it's on both sides. I know we're all supposed to just think, we want a meritocracy. Nepotism's not a meritocracy, folks. But I digress. Anyway, the problem with Chris Cuomo, gosh, I keep saying Andrew Cuomo, he's now saying that he sleeps well at night. His head sleeps soundly on the pillow because he saved so many lives in New York. This guy did the worst job of anyone in the world in response to the COVID pandemic, and his claim is that he saved lives with all of this. I mean, we're just arguing with the other side here on things where they reject objective reality. They reject what's really clear and what's happening. How do you win a debate with people who are just going to pretend things aren't what they are? I don't know. And that's when people ask me, how do we win with this other side? I think you got to keep fighting. You've just got to take that Trump approach of never give in, never step back, never apologize, stay in the fight.
It's time for roll call.
I finished The Last Kingdom last night, the most recent season. I finished the last episode. I mean, it's a good show. for what it is. I think that it sometimes goes a little, it gets a little repetitive. It's kind of the same thing, you know. Oh, the Vikings took another city. Oh, we have to take it back. It's, you know, I wish the writing was a little bit better sometimes, but overall, I think it's just pretty good, enjoyable show. And I got Bosch, but after that, I'm done with Cobra Kai. I'm almost done with the episodes of Bosch that exist. So I got to find a new show, man. This is always hard. Bruce and Mark, you got any, other than The Creek, you got any suggestions?
Not off the top of my head, no. Some old shows you could probably watch. I don't watch anything new. I don't know why.
What old shows really hold up?
Well, Seinfeld's always there, obviously. Have you ever watched Scrubs?
No, I have not.
Honestly, one of the best shows, one of my personal favorite shows ever.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, Murray from Clueless is in it.
Clueless is in Scrubs?
He is in Scrubs.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he is best known for I'm Keeping It Real. That was from the
I
movie
never
Clueless.
watched Clueless. Or I probably did a long time ago, but I don't remember it.
Producer Mark, everyone has seen Clueless.
All right, I'm sure I've seen it, but I don't remember. I don't have the recall like you do.
Yeah, we'll keep it. And in fact, Dion from Clueless had a career at Fox News for a little while. Did you know that? Yeah, Dion from Clueless. She's a very attractive African American lady. Yeah, she was Fox News. I don't know, correspondent, host, but she was on air at Fox a fair amount for a while. So, anyway, yes, Clueless, great film. I got to find some stuff to watch here. I've also got to stop playing Call of Duty because it's so addictive, and you get a little bit better at it, and then it's. Have you ever played?
I have.
It's very fun.
I don't get addicted to it because I'm so bad at it.
Well, that's the problem is once you start to. I think it's a little bit like people have explained golf this way to me. That golf is terrible until you stop being terrible at it, and then it's amazing, and then you just want to do it all the time. So.
Yeah, I said that to my wife recently. I was like, if we move to Florida, like I have to play golf, right? Like, what else do you do if you live in Florida?
I think you do. What'd she say?
She said, I mean, whatever you want to do. She doesn't care.
That's nice.
Yeah,
that's nice. Are you a pool or a beach guy?
Pool
guy
for sure.
Yeah,
the beach is just. Granted, when I lived at a beach, so I used to live in Long Beach, New York, and I could walk there, it was great. But any other time, if you have to drive there or take public transportation or whatever and schlep all your stuff, it's a big pain.
There we have it. Well, we'll see. I'll have to find a new show. I'll let you know if I come up on anything good. Remember, if you want to send us your thoughts, teambuck@iheartmedia.com or on Facebook, just go to facebook.com/Buck Sexton. And on Instagram, we like getting the Instagram stuff. Instagram, just send a note to Buck Sexton. Producer Mark will go through it. If you get a Team Buck or a Shields High tattoo, by all means, send that in. We love that kind of stuff. That was one of my favorite messages in a while. That was great. I feel like we'd have to get you a raise, though, for you to get a Team Buck tattoo.
Oh, a huge one.
Big raise. Big raise, yeah. I think I would need a raise, too. I don't know. Needles, I'm not a needles guy. Can't really handle that. That wouldn't be my thing.
Is anyone really a needle person?
I think some people, I know that there are people who are really, really into getting a lot of tattoos. So I don't know if they're a needle person, but it clearly doesn't bother them that much.
Well, you see, when I think of needles, I think like getting an IV or getting a shot or something.
Yeah.
At the doctor's office.
Yeah. Speaking, I got to get a pertussis shot for whooping cough because my little sister's about to have a baby.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Uncle Buck.
She's like 2-3 weeks away. A baby's going to come flying out. He's going to have a mane of hair. He's going to be very loquacious right away. That's what I think, at least.
I mean, he's not your baby.
I know, but he's related to me, so he's going to be like kind of like Baby Stewie.
Does your brother-in-law have good hair?
Oh, yes. Good hair.
Okay.
The man has good hair. So we're in good shape there. All right, Tyler. Oh, Tyler, this is from, we wanted to get to this yesterday, and I said I would, but the show actually came to a close. So now we will give your question its full due. Hey, Buck, you're doing amazing work. Got your new book in the mail. I'm excited to read it. That's right, BuckSextonBook.com, people. Go get a copy. The Socialism Survival Guide and 8 Radical Predictions that will come true after the next election. I actually wrote it, unlike a lot of conservatives that put out books that other people wrote, but that they put their name on. That's just not my thing. If I say I wrote it, I wrote it. Now, there are some addendums to the chapters that are from my friends at Stansberry Research on things you can do based on the predictions to take economic action or, financial action to help yourself prepare, but that's very clear. But all the actual stuff on the socialism and the election and the predictions and who's going to win the election, for example, what happens afterwards? What are the Democrats going to do if they win? All this is in the book, bucksextonbook.com. Please pick up your copy today. And, okay, Tyler writes, my question for you is about the Democratic Party selecting Biden, because like so many others, I'm still baffled. When you talk about him being the nominee, you say the DNC Democratic machine selected him and rejected everyone else, including Bernie. I know the DNC and the media are hugely influential to their voter base, but the voters still say Biden was their best shot. It seems like the voters picked him in spite of the DNC media putting the spotlight on others like Harris, but somehow Biden got the votes anyway, and then the DNC had to line up behind him. So how intact do you think the Democratic electoral process still is today? Also, I noticed that your boy Jesse Kelly recently did a podcast on the Siege of Malta. Just throwing that out there. Shields high. What? He did?
Yes, I checked. He did. That's what happens when you procrastinate for 6 months.
Wow. Okay. Good for Jesse. Very nice. All righty here. What else do we have here? I'm sure it's great. I'll give it a listen. As for your Biden Democratic Party situation here, I think that the DNC is very powerful. The voters. Here's what happened with Biden. Okay, Biden has the black vote behind him. He did in the primary. And some of the other favored media candidates could not get that level of support from the black community. And that was essential to winning the primary. And it's just, look, Biden was a part of the Obama administration, a lot of African-American support. So, that was a big factor in all this. Like Buttigieg, media loved him, couldn't get black support in the primary at all. I mean, it was like basically zero. Kamala Harris could not get support of African-American primary voters. So that was a big advantage that Biden had going through the whole way. But then also the people who in the media and behind the scenes are the power brokers in the Democrat Party, I think that they recognize that it would be harder to push through a Bernie Sanders candidacy. And so they just wanted to go with this concept of electability. Now, electability is kind of funny because it is what the people say it is who want to make an election happen, right? So that's interesting. Electability. Hillary was supposed to be the electable one, but she wasn't. So that's what I'm saying. The people that make these decisions, it's supposed to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it often is not. So that's what I would say. JR, I love your show. I binge listen to you and Bongino on the weekends. Well, JR, I'm in elite company there. Thank you very much. I enjoy your level-headed and seldom hyperbolic observations and commentary. I'm always amused at the hyperbole Biden and the Democrats use to claim Trump and Republicans want to unilaterally destroy the Unaffordable Care Act. Most Americans recall the Unaffordable Care Act was written in secret and passed against the wishes of most of Americans and without any support from real Republicans. Keep up the good work. Shields high. Phasers on stun. The Affordable Care Act was an act, and JR, thank you for your support. By the way, appreciate you writing in. The Affordable Care Act was an act of totally unilateral Democrat movement. That's it, right? The Affordable Care Act was entirely the Democrats deciding that they were going to do something, and it didn't matter that Republicans were not getting on board for it at all. So that's, and to view that as some kind of great leap, well, it was kind of a great leap forward, but as some major advancement for all of us, no, it made, for a lot of people, healthcare. Some people benefited from it. A lot of people didn't. It picked winners and losers in the individual market because you're either subsidizing others for lesser care or getting better care because of the subsidies. But someone's subsidizing it, so money's coming from somewhere. The pre-existing conditions issue, that's just so emotionally, that resonates so much with people emotionally, but the true pre-existing conditions is like 1% of the market that have pre-existing conditions where insurers will just say, sorry. Now, look, that's a few million people, so I'm not saying that's insignificant, but everyone kind of got sold this thing of, there's a huge portion of the population that can't be insured. That's not true. When they were ramming through Obamacare without a single Republican vote, generally speaking, about 70% of people in the polls would, in fact, 70% of people believed that they liked their health care. It was about 70%. So that's pretty good. Now, you've got a whole lot more people on Medicaid because of Obamacare. But Medicaid is not very good health care. And so really what the left, what the Democrats now have to do as part of all of this is they want to say they're going to give everybody better health care, but really what's going to happen, because health care is a finite resource, there's not endless doctors, there aren't endless emergency room, waiting rooms, and so on and so forth. So what they want to do is spread out the healthcare resources that already exist so that, you'll have a lot more people who have something that's similar to Medicaid. They're going to call it Medicare, but if everyone's on Medicare, it's going to be closer to Medicaid, which means a lot of doctors won't want to take it. A lot of things won't be covered, and you'll have long waits, and specialists will take forever. And that's what we see in other countries, too. I mean, this is just the way it plays out. The market is the market, even when Democrats call it something else. They can say the market is a pink hippopotamus, but it still is the market. All right, more roll call. Matthew, hey, Buck, just want to let you know I love your show. I've always been a big Rush fan and was listening to his podcast when I saw an ad for your show. Started listening to one episode, and I cannot get enough. The other day, listening to your dialogue as Putin talking to President Trump had me dying. Could not stop laughing. That was great. Keep up the good work. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you, Matthew. That's great, man. I really appreciate that. Nothing makes me happier than people write in and just tell me they really like the show. Rooster Mark, can we just get more of those messages, please?
Absolutely. I'll have people start writing them in.
Yeah, just, that Buck keeps them safe and warm at night, or the Freedom Hut keeps them safe and warm at night. If I keep them safe and warm at night, that's,
It's slightly creepy.
Yeah, that's a little weird, but you know what I mean. The Freedom Hut keeps them safe and warm at night, darn it. So, yeah. Let's see. And being a big Rush fan, if you like this show, you like Rush, you've obviously got fantastic taste in audio programming, so there you have it. Zvi. It's a fun name to say. Zvi. I like it. Hey, Buck. Wow, the president surely managed to reinforce the common opinion of him during the debate instead of using the opportunity to contrast his record with that of his predecessor and VP and grab the even greater opportunity to present himself to the public without the negative filter of the mass media. He confirmed the bad press. With Biden correcting himself at least 3 times instead of repeated interjections, the president should have allowed the ex-VP every opportunity to trip up by presenting his own administration's accomplishments pre-COVID minority employment to start. The president would all but force the ex-VP to counter his claims or stand mum. Yeah, look, I back the president, and I understand why he has to go guns blazing into these debates, and I've said that today on the show. I was frustrated, though, because it felt like there were a few points where, I don't know how many of your Mortal Kombat fans, where finish him would have been the appropriate background sound, and he didn't get there. And it was in part because of Chris Wallace's interruptions, but, you've also got to, it is the president on that debate stage, and I just wish he had been in a frame of mind. I don't know what else to say. I just wish he had been in a place where he could have really, because, if you pin Biden down on even just the question about whether he'll pack the Supreme Court, if you get him to say, yes, I would consider packing the Supreme Court, that's a problem. That's a problem for the whole Democrat narrative about a return to normalcy and all the norm breaking that Trump has done. So you got to remember that there are some areas here that it's not just something we're talking about. It really is true. If you're able to get Biden locked in on something and made him answer some of these questions, I think he'd have a big problem. So yeah, it was frustrating for me that didn't happen with Trump in the debate. It was frustrating, but that said, it's not me up on that debate stage. Although I would obviously, Biden would not fare well in the Buck debate. Craig, Can you please explain how it came to be a two-party system? Have some lib friends that I'd like to be better able to talk to you about this. Thanks. Enjoy your show. Producer Mark is cool. You hear that, Producer Mark? Craig says you're cool.
I'm glad someone thinks I'm cool.
There you go. As for the two-party system, I wish I had like a cool 30-second explanation of it. Let me say that this is something that I will have to return to when I have more than about 45 seconds left on the show. But Craig, I'll file it away. Anthony, hey Buck, what was productive about the debate was that the president showed Biden what the president has put up with every day with the press for the past 4 years. After that, do you think the press will treat the president any better? Better yet, do you think Biden could handle the pressure? Come on, man. Do you think the press will treat president any better? No, they will not. So I can answer that part for you, Anthony. The press will not treat the president any better. They view their job as preventing him from getting elected. Understand that. Their job is not to present you with facts and information so that you can make a decision. Their job is to make sure, in their minds, is to make sure the president does not get elected. All right, everyone, that's the show today. Thank you so much for being here. An honor and a privilege as always. Until next time, get ready for it, friends. Shields high.